far, ang napag-usapan na natin yung zero-rated transactions, no? We are done with exportation of goods and service, including actual exportation and what I call constructive exportation. With respect to the regular 12% transactions, okay na tayo sa transactions team sales. Okay na tayo doon. And yung exempt, although wala siya dito, actually doon napunta yung bulk ng discussion natin doon sa exempt transactions, although wala nga siya dito. Okay. Bago tayo mag-proceed, I want to discuss itong effectively zero-rated transactions. So na-miss out ko siya. Ano ba itong effectively zero-rated transactions? So nangyayari, just to make the distinction, hindi siya tinatawag na zero-rated transactions lang, no? Meron siyang qualifying term. Ang tawag sa kanya ay effectively zero-rated transactions. So, para mahiwalay mo, ano ba yung tinutukoy sa effectively zero-rated transactions? Ang tinutukoy dyan ay mga international organizations. To put it in context, diba before, ang sabi natin, nagkakaroon ng zero-rated transactions if the direction of the goods or the services from the Philippines and then it will end up outside the Philippines. Diba? Para may context tayo sa discussion na to. Kapag galing sa Pilipinas, ang produkto or ang serbisyo at ang ultimate consumption ay mangyayari sa labas ng bansa, lalabas ng bansa yung produkto o kaya naman yung taong nagbenepisyo dun sa serbisyo ay nasa labas ng bansa, nagkakaroon ng exportation, quote-unquote exportation of goods and services. Ngayon, how do we relate that to international organizations? Ano ba ito muna? Ano ba muna yung mga international organizations? Ito yung mga entities na pursuant to a treaty, no, among nations, they have agreed to create this international organization kasi merong mga concern of an international concern. May mga of an international level. Like public health, yan, international level yan. Although syempre meron din namang i-address na locally, nationally, pero meron like for example, how do we address a pandemic? Yan. Hindi lang naman kasi sa isang lugar nangyayari, kaya nga siya pandemic, kumakalat siya sa buong mundo. Kaya merong international organization to address yung mga issues na yan. Human rights violations. Again, merong Commission on Human Rights to address yung local. What if is an act of terrorism na nanggagaling sa ibang bansa? Among nations yung atake. So mga ganyan. O kaya what if pumasok ang state of war among nations? So yung mga ganyan, no? Like a violation committed by one nation in favor of against another nation. Inatake, for example, ng isang bansa yung Pilipinas. O kaya naman, resources dispute. O gaya ng yung United Nations, tawag dito, yung ating sa tubig, yan sa dagat natin, West Philippine Sea, yung dispute dyan. Yan. So, to address yung mga ganyan, papasok kayo ngayon sa treaty to create that international organization. So, para ma-relate mo siya, you can just think ng international organization is outside the Philippines. Although, hindi ganun siya nag-work. No? Talagang kapag nag-create ng international organization, may mga stations yan, usually sa mga member nations. So let's take for example World Health Organization. May mga opisina siya na nakakalat sa buong sa mga buong mundo kung saan signatory yung mga bansa. Like the Philippines. The Philippines is signatory to the treaty creating the World Health Organization. So merong station yan sa Pilipinas. So, if tama pa rin yung kung hindi naman sila lumilipat ng opisina, nasa Manila yan, nasa Ermita, somewhere in United Nations. Yun yung opisina ng World Health Organization sa Pilipinas. So, technically, situated siya within the Philippines. Kaya lang dahil nga yung kanyang status, quote-unquote status ay international level, hindi siya technically nasa Pilipinas. Nasa international sphere siya. So kaya kapag nagbenta ka sa kanya, nag-provide ka ng servisyo sa kanya, o kaya nagbenta ka ng goods sa kanya or ng supply sa kanya, you can think or you can relate na it is considered as an exportation because you are providing goods or service to an entity which is considered as in the international level. Nasa international level siya. Kaya, zero rated yung tawag dito, yung transaction. In fact, no, just to be clear about it, kapag ang isang entity ay international organization, it enjoys exemption both from direct and indirect taxes. Usually ganun kasi hindi siya pwedeng considered as within the taxing jurisdiction of any of the member nations. So parang hindi maaari na yung Pilipinas mag-exercise ng kanyang taxing powers over an international organization. Kasi parang ang magiging implication nun, under siya sa atin. Di ba? Parang under siya ng Pilipinas, binubuwisan mo siya eh. So to prevent that, yung mga international organizations, kapag kine-create sila, they are granted tax exemptions. Not only from direct tax, but also from indirect taxes like value-added tax. So to address the situation, to address that no, yung ganong klaseng purpose, kapag ikaw ay nagbenta under our law, kapag ikaw ay nagbenta, nag-provide ng goods or ng service sa isang international organization, the tax transaction is considered a zero-rated transaction. But to create a distinction, para lang mahiwalay siya from the regular zero-rated transaction, tatawagin natin siyang effectively zero-rated transactions. And mind you, hindi siya ganun lang dahil pinangalanan. Merong special set of rules para makapag-avail ka ng zero rating for your transactions with international organizations. So, una, your source document should indicate that the transaction is effectively zero rated. Not just zero rated, but effectively zero rated. Pangalawa, you should secure a authority from the BIR, from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, for it to be classified as zero rate, effectively zero rated. Without that approval from the BIR, the transaction is not considered as effectively zero rated. Compared doon sa normal na not effectively dun sa regular na zero-rated transaction, there is no such prior approval from the BIR. Kapag nag-export ka under the law, zero-rated talaga yung transaction mo. Pero dito, kapag you did business, you entered into a business with business transaction with an international organization, you should secure prior approval from the BIR for it to be classified as effectively zero-rated. Okay? So, okay na tayo dyan. Sabi ko sa inyo, so we're done with this. Sa baba, zero-rated together with exempt transactions. And na-highlight ko rin in my last video kung anong distinction between zero-rated transactions and effective and exempt transactions. That is with respect to the recognition of output VAT and input VAT. Now, let's concentrate on output and input. Siyempre, uunahin natin yung output VAT. Sa output VAT, sabi natin may regular 12 at saka zero-rated. And sabi ko nga, we will not dwell on items subject to regular 12% VAT. But may handout, yung naka-upload sa group natin, dun sa teams natin, meron doon mga enumeration o mga examples ng mga services or goods na sale of goods and sale of services na subject sa regular 12% VAT. Again, ang point ko, I will highlight this again, if you are, since we are done with the study of zero-rated transactions as well as exempt transactions, if you are not very much familiar with the transactions which are subject to 12% VAT, and you are familiar naman with zero-rated transactions and exempt transactions, there's no problem with that. Okay lang yun. If you are sure that a transaction that you encountered is not exempt from value-added tax or not zero-rated, then it must be subject to the regular 12% value-added tax. Okay. So ang ano lang natin dyan, ang major distinction lang natin ay yung 12% VAT on the sale of goods and properties and 12% VAT on sale of services and lease of properties. Anong pinagkaiba? Although 12% yung rate mo, saan mo siya i-multiply? Kapag seller of goods ka, yung 12% ay i-multiply natin sa gross sales. Pag sinabing gross sales, actually net sales ito. Gross sales adjusted or net of any allowance for returns, allowances, and discounts. So binabawas naman talaga yun bago ka mag-multiply ng 12% value-added tax. Gross sales. Ito yung sales, ito yung revenue measured using accrual basis. So whether received or not yung payment, it is already subject sa 12% value-added tax. Compare dito sa pangalawa. Yung 12% mo ay i-multiply mo sa gross receipts, meaning the amount collected, no, the cash collected. Whether the cash is for services rendered in the past or for the current period or for future period to be rendered pa, services to be rendered in the future, kapag ngayon mo na-receive yung cash, yan ay vatable on the period kung saan mo siya na-receive. So kung nagre-render ka ng service, wala naman nagbabayad sa'yo, puro receivable lang, then hindi ka liable for value-added tax. Nagiging liable ka lang once collected. So yun yung pinagkaiba. Sa sale of goods and properties, kapag nagbenta ka, whether na-collecta mo na yun o hindi, you are already required to report that as a vatable transaction. Pag sale of service and lease of properties, you have to wait kung kailan mo siya makukolekta. Ang mahirap nga lang dito kapag advance payment, syempre vatable na siya agad kahit hindi mo pa nare-render yung service. Okay? So yun yung pinag-aiba. Ganun din, no? Pagdadaanan uli natin to sa percentage tax, yung 3% percentage tax under Section 116 of the tax code, magkaiba yung tax treatment on how to compute yung 3% percentage tax on sale of goods and properties and sale of service and lease of properties. Pero yun din naman yung principle. Yung 3% kapag seller of goods or properties yung taxpayer mo, 3% of the gross sales, meaning sales measured using accrual basis whether collected or not. Kapag seller of service or lessor of property, yung taxpayer mo, 3% of the gross receipts, meaning yung revenue niya using cash basis, yung mga actual collection niya, yung subject sa 3% percentage tax. Same ito. Same siya. So again, kahit na gross yung term na ginamit, yan ay net of returns, allowances, and discounts. But not net of cost of goods sold, ha? Hindi ibinabawas yung cost of goods sold dito. Hanggang dun lang. Gross sales minus returns, allowances, and discounts din. Doon mo i-multiply yung 12% value-added tax. By the way, since we are on the matter of output VAT, let us discuss yung dalawang method to compute for value-added tax. Meron tayong tinatawag na exclusive method and inclusive method. Pag sinabing exclusive method, the amount that you are given is exclusive of the value-added tax component. So for example, sabi sa'yo, the selling price is 100, the gross sales is 100, or gross fees is 100 pesos, and that is exclusive of the VAT. Meaning yung 100 na yun, walang VAT component. So how do we compute for the VAT? You simply multiply it by 12%. To compute for the VAT, which is 12 pesos. So yun yung output mo on the transaction. Pag sinabing inclusive of the VAT, the amount that you will see already includes the VAT. Kaya nga siya inclusive. So for example, ang amount na sinabi sa iyo, ang kanyang gross sales ay 112 or gross receipts 112. And that is inclusive of the VAT. So how do you compute for the VAT component? You multiply it by 0.12 over 1.12. 0.12 over 1.12 will give you 12 ulit. 0.12 over 1.12 will give you 12. Ibig sabihin, yung 112 na yan includes the selling price as well as the output VAT, no? the output tax component. Kaya siya pinagsama 112. So mali na i-multiply mo siya sa directly sa 12% lang. Kasi you'll be computing also VAT on the value added tax, which is not correct. Kasi yung VAT should be computed net of the selling price without the VAT. Eh yung 112 is with the VAT na eh. So maling i-multiply mo siya directly sa 12%. So ang gagawin mo, 112 inclusive of the VAT multiplied by 0.12 over 1.12 to determine the VAT component, which is 12. So 112 minus 12, 100 is net of the VAT. Okay? So those are the two methods, exclusive and inclusive. Ang question natin dito na sunod is, kailan magre-recognize ng value added tax? When do we recognize the output VAT? Output VAT muna. So sabi natin, per transaction. So kapag nakabenta ka, gross sales, ano mo na agad? Recognize mo na agad yung VAT, yung output VAT. Kung services naman, kapag nakakolekta ka, saka mo i-recognize yung VAT component. What if nagbenta ka ng property on installment? You sold property on installment. Are you allowed, is the taxpayer allowed to recognize the VAT component also on installment? Yun yung sunod na tanong dyan. Diba? Eh, installment ko naman na kukolekta to eh. Dapat installment ko lang din i-recognize yung output VAT. Okay? So doon tayo mapupunta ngayon. Ang discussion natin will now go to the installment recognition of value added tax. Medyo malayo yung pagdadaanan natin, pero ang gagawin ko na lang para hindi masayang yung oras ay ipopause ko muna yung recording. Wala palang pause to. Sa Zoom kasi merong pause option. Anyway, dahil wala, okay, i-escape ko na lang to. Installment recognition of output VAT. Kailan siya allowed? Allowed only if the initial payment will not exceed 25% of the selling price. Initial payment will not exceed 25% of the selling price. When we say initial payment, what do we mean? Yung unang importanteng tanong dito. Ano ang ibig sabihin kapag sinabi natin na initial payment? Pag initial payment, that would include down payment. Siyempre, di ba? Ano ba to? Naiinis naman ako sa wrong spelling. Yan. So, ay, nawala. Kapag initial payment, that would include down payment. Siyempre, initial payment yun. But you are not limited to the down payment. You should also include all amortizations received within the same taxable year. That constitutes initial payment. Okay? So you are not limited to the down payment. Siyempre, kung meron ka ma-receive na non-monetary consideration, the fair market value of the non-monetary consideration will also constitute initial payment. But bukod doon, di ba meron ka na ngayong receivable kasi nga installment ito eh. So meron kang installment receivable. Yung portion ng installment receivable mo na ma-receive during that period, kung kailan ka gumawa, nagbayad ng initial payment, or ng down payment rather, will also be included as part of your initial payment. Okay, so for example, assume the total selling price of 10 million. Total selling price mo ay 10 million. First situation, down payment of 1 million in June 2020, and then monthly installments of 100,000 starting July 2020 until fully paid. So, ganun niya gagawin yung installment niya. Out of the 10 million, kailangan mo mag-down ng 1 million in June 2020, and then starting July 2020 until matapos mo yung balance mo na 9 million kasi nag-down ka nga ng 1 million eh. So may installment receivable pa na 9 million. Yung 9 million na yon ay babayaran ng monthly installments 100,000 per month starting the next month, July 2020 until fully paid. So ang tanong ngayon, dahil installment yung benta niya ng property na ito, pwede ba siya mag-recognize ng output VAT also on installment? We check it is allowed only if the initial payment will not exceed 25% of the selling price. Ano-ano yung initial payment natin? 1 million. Saan galing yung 1 million? That is the down payment. Okay. Tapos, lahat ng amortization, lahat ng makokolekta niyang installment receivable within the same taxable year. Starting July, makakolekta siya ng 100,000. So, July, August, September, October, November, and December, 6 months. So, dadagdagan mo ngayon niya ng 600,000. Yan. So, ang total niya ngayon yan ay 1,600,000. That's the numerator. Allowed siya if the initial payment, which is 1,600,000, will not exceed 25% of the total selling price. Parang pusa yung M ko dito ang tipo. So 1,600,000 divided by 10 million. Hindi tayo marunong mag-mental map. 1,600,000 divided by 10 million will give us 16%. Na-meet natin yung condition. Ano yung condition? The initial payment should not exceed 25% of the total selling price. So ano ngayon? Pwede niya ngayong i-recognize on installment yung output VAT. Magkano ba yung output VAT? O, 10 million multiplied by 12%. So 10 million times 12% will give us 1,200,000. So yung 1,200,000 na yan, pwede niyang i-recognize on installment. Magkano ang i-recognize niya for 2020? So for 2020, 1,200,000 multiplied by 1,600,000 over 10 million. Kasi yun yung portion na nakolekta niya na. So 1,200,000 times 1,600,000 divided by 10 million. So 192,000. Ang dapat niyang i-recognize na VAT component or output tax for the year 2020. How about the year 2021? So for the year 2021, magkano ang makakolekta niya? 100,000 na collection, monthly collection, times 12. So makaka 1.2 million siya. 1.2 million. So 1,200,000 na output VAT multiplied by 1.2 na collection over the amount to be collected, 10 million. Kaya 144,000 ang i-recognize na for 2021. 144,000. And I would presume that for the succeeding years, it will also be 144,000. Diba? Until matapos na. Siyempre for the last year, iba yung amount na makukuha kasi hindi naman buong 1,200,000 yung makukolekta niya for the last year. Okay? That's 192 for the first year, 2020, 144,000 for the second year, third year. Hanggang sa maubos niya, syempre for the last year, syempre iba yung computation doon. Situation B, the down payment of 1 million, there is down payment of 1 million in June 2020 and monthly installments of 300,000 starting July 2020. So let us check kung available ba sa kanya yung installment recognition. So 1 million down payment plus 300,000 multiplied by 6 months. That will give us 1.8 million. So 1 million plus 1.8 million without using the calculator, that will give us 2.8 million. So let us check if the initial payments will not exceed 25%. No. Ano to? 28%. Hindi niya na-meet yung condition. Ang condition again is that the initial payment should not exceed 25% of the total selling price. Since ang kanyang initial payment already accounts for 28% of the initial of the total selling price, disqualified siya to recognize the output VAT on installment. So ano mangyayari? Yung buong output VAT in the amount of 1,200,000 will have to be recognized all in 2020. Buo niya nang i-recognize yung 1,200,000. Magkano i-recognize in 2021? Wala na. Unlike dun sa unang situation A, portion-portion ang recognition mo ng output VAT. But for situation B, dahil meron ngang dahil nga disqualified siya dun sa installment recognition ng output VAT, for the first year alone, i-recognize niya na ng buo yung 1.2 million. Wala nang recognition for 2021, 2022, etc. Kasi fully recognized na yung output VAT in 2020 pa lamang. Okay? That's it for installment recognition of output VAT. So sunod ay input tax. Before we go to that, I will have to put a stop on the presentation.